Hello, welcome to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Daniel Lanzilotta, and today we have an incredible artist activist by the name of Carmen Einfinger. She is an internationally known artist and painter, sculptor. You make soft sculptures. You've been an activist. You've been all over the world. You've been to China. You've been to Brazil, Europe, America. Let me introduce you to Carmen Einfinger. Welcome to Corinne's Picks.
Thank you.
Now, today's show is a sort of a transition show. So we're going from Corinne's Picks to a show we're going to be calling Artivation TV, which I'll be the host of, and you're will be the transition artist for the show. So the show is about art and activism. And when I saw your paintings not so long ago, I started looking at them and noticed that you're an activist and your paintings speak for themselves. The painting I was looking at the time was Gaza. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So I believe that as an artist, you have the responsibility to be ahead of your time, or at least, if not that, to be in the present time. So I choose at times to do paintings of what's going on now. But also, it's more about not only, you don't have to actually paint revolutionary to be an activist, but it's more also about the form, you know, the way the artist expresses himself.
Well, it certainly is a very, very powerful painting. I mean, the features on the faces, the colors, the lines are amazing in this painting. It's just phenomenal. And you compared this to, you say it's your Guernica, the painting that Pablo Picasso did from the Spanish Civil War from 1937.
Yes. Yes.
So this painting, when I see this painting, it's captivating. It's the energy, it's so dynamic. And so you have this really incredible gift to express what you're feeling. And that painting is just so amazing to me. And when I speak to activism in the art, that painting could stand alone and speak. You don't have to be there. You see it, you feel it, and that's what excites me about your work. Can you tell me where you muster up these types of emotions?
Yes. I find very interesting that you mentioned a line. And the line is where all my center, my energy comes from. And it's, this is very interesting. It's almost like an expression of how a child exists in this world. And the way a child exists in this world, a child connects with everything, a table, a chair, everything. And it's this extreme connection. So it's the physical way of being in this world. And that is what my line is about. And that's that kind of energy you're picking up from it. So it's about extreme groundedness, extreme connection with the earth, and being here and a full participation. And in this painting about Gaza, I was following very tightly right at the beginning when a lot of people weren't yet, you know, and I was going to Al Jazeera. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And
Has this painting been shown in a gallery or anywhere?
No. You know, it's interesting you asked that, because I feel like I did a painting when the 9/11 happened, okay? And it was very intense and all of this. It traveled all over the world, that kind of stuff. But people weren't ready because it was too soon. It's only now that I have noticed that people are really paying attention to that painting. What took 20 years? Okay, so with the Gaza painting, I think it's totally too soon. I don't think people, they don't want to because because it would be having to confront their own emotions.
Now this this painting will be broadcast and people will see it, and we'll see if there's a
Wonderful.
reaction to it.
Yeah.
Do you think, as an artist activist, that art can make a big difference and have an impact on change and social change?
Absolutely, because look at Picasso and Guernica. Look at, if you go to World War II, right, you get Kirchner, you get Max Beckmann. They witnessed the war, and their painting, not all of them, but their paintings were about the war. And so when we study art history, we become familiar with the war.
Where did you come to this palette? These very rich, deep, almost psychedelic colors. They're quite significant.
Okay.
They have an extreme impact, and one of my beliefs about being an artist is that you have to have a signature, and there's no mistake about it that is your painting.
Can I tell you a little story about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. When I first took my painting class in Canada, the professor said, okay, guys, I want you all to do a portrait. Okay, so doing the portrait. And the professor told me later, he come by my work and he thinks for himself, she's never going to make this work. And then I was done, he comes back and said, I cannot believe it. She made it work. I cannot answer that. That was my very first painting, and this was the reaction. Now, there is one thing, the way I deal with painting, which is with color, it's really the most, how do you say, it's very difficult because I see colors in terms of relationship. You know, I put a green there and then it goes on and the relationship keeps changing. And then the very last color, it's all very intense because that very last color has to bind it all together.
Right.
So
this painting that's being shown now, can you tell me a little bit more about that painting?
Yes. It's about the children. Okay, because I followed very closely at the beginning, and that's what I was horrified about, what they were going through. So I stitched the children. That shows, you know, the agony and the suffering, and of course the bombing. But here's an interesting thing: there's some buildings there, okay, in the painting. And that those kind of buildings reminded me of Brazil, you know, so there was a connection for me in my own experience as a childhood to relate to those buildings. And here's another thing that's interesting. So Gaza, do you know they have solar panels? And I saw that on the buildings, you know. But the wires are all kind of falling down, you know, and that's reminded me of Brazil. So there are the buildings, there is the explosion, but the central of the imagery are the children sewn together.
So when you're showing your work, you've been like, I don't know, in so many different countries, so many different cultures, so many different ways of seeing the world from different points of view. Do people react differently, or is there some kind of thread that goes through how human beings respond to your palette, your composition? Like this painting, for instance, it's just magnificent in your composition, how you position people, of course the colors, the line. You're very consistent. It's just magnificent. There's absolutely no doubt that this is a Carmen Einfinger, and that's a very important thing to have at your disposal, because you can walk away from it and people will know it's you. How do people react to these paintings in different cultures?
Well, before I answer that, can I tell you another little story?
Sure.
Or no? Okay, when I was in college, I suffered a lot. I didn't have a voice. I painted every artist of New York City. I went to Buffalo, College of Buffalo, and always buy magazines, you know, the artists and everything, and always paint. And I was a good painter as a tradition, you know, painting traditionally. But I was very unhappy because I felt I didn't have a voice. And it wasn't only I graduated until I went to Greece. I spent 3 months there. And almost at the end, I was working in a pension, actually, in Crete. And it was only almost at the very last days, I was doing like a drawing, you know. I was drawing, painting every day, but very basic. So I decided that I would forget everything I learned in college and I would start all over again, you know. So there was this willow tree in front of me and a garden at the pension, and I started, and suddenly it was like something took over me, and it was really strong. And I knew then I had found my voice, and I knew that nothing would take that away from me, and that the only thing that I needed to do now, no matter where I was the commitment to developing that line, because it was all about the line.
And I agree with that. But when you're traveling and you're showing your paintings, are there different reactions from different cultures?
So what happens is when I'm doing art in different countries, I'm actually doing public art interventions, you know. And in China, they were more about public art, and of course, not only because you're from a foreign country, you know, they love your work. And when I was in Taiwan, which is the shipping container, I never imagined that I would be doing public art. That was something that came to me.
Okay.
You know, and the other thing too is I couldn't accept the idea that somebody would be producing your work, manufacturing your work, because of this idea I had in Taiwan. And so the cozy for the shipping container was manufactured in Shanghai and then dyed in Taipei, you know, so that it opened a whole new world for me. So, and the painting that I did about 9/11 was part of a big group show in Istanbul.
Can you tell us a bit? That's the container there.
Yes, that's a container.
And that's in China.
No, this actually is in Kaohsiung, and that's in Taiwan.
Okay.
So 14 artists were chosen to do a piece of artwork with a shipping container. And I decided, I decided to do something that was decorative and had a domestic feeling to it. And it was almost like what our grandmothers used to do when they cover, you know, the tea with the cozy to keep it warm, and they covered the toilet paper, you know, everything that was like an eyesore.
You mean like a crochet thing?
Crochet, yeah.
Right.
Your grandmother must have done that.
The teapot, the cookie jar. Yeah, I know
all
exactly.
Pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yes.
So domestic. So this is. So this was the idea, to cover an ugly shipping container that's an eyesore with a cozy.
So the shipping container was brought there, or the shipping container was there?
Or was there. And then this whole exhibit was transported to Genova, Italy.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were about 14 containers.
And were the containers, did you have stuff in the containers or it was
No.
just empty?
Empty.
Wow. You could have shipped all your stuff in the container. It would have been very
Yeah. They
pragmatic.
shipped it from Kaohsiung to Italy.
Wow, that's
So
pretty
there was a
amazing.
lot of
I
money
didn't know
involved.
that part. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so when it got to Italy, there's another reaction.
Yeah, but it's more, I was there for 2 weeks while they were exhibiting this. It's more like the public then, reacting. They loved it.
So so Taiwan is the independent nation outside of China, and then you went to China, mainland China.
Yeah.
Was that sent to mainland China at any point, or did you do a different project in mainland China?
Oh, no. China, I was in 2006. Then Taiwan, I think I was 2008. Completely separate. So I was actually a month and a half in China. And I have to say, from all the countries that I've been making art, public art interventions, China was very intense. I loved it. The people are very industrious, they're very committed, and it made a big impression on me. And I was there in
we're going to stop there, and
Yeah.
we're going to pick up from that when we come back.
Today we're going to look at the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act that amends New York City Labor Law 201D. It balances legal rights of workers and those of employers, while recognizing federal law. It protects those that are over 21 and legally employed. However, it doesn't protect illegal activities having to do with cannabis. Protection is regardless of immigration or citizenship status. Here's the rundown. Between work hours, it grants employers certain abilities. But employers can't restrict employees' use of cannabis during non-work hours. However, the amended New York Labor Law, Section 201D4A, lets employers take employment action or prohibit employee conduct where employers can't drug test employees except in situations where it's mandatory by the state or federal government for certain jobs.
Welcome back to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Daniel Lanzilotta. I'm here with one incredible artist, Carmen Einfinger. We were talking about Taiwan, mainland China. I'm a big believer in travel and going and being with the people. I love being with the people. And your experience and talking to you and reading up about you, you've traveled extensively. How important is that to the human condition, to get to know people and really, be on the ground with folks and not pay attention to the media and what we hear? How does that affect you? How does that affect your art?
It's the reason why I like doing public art interventions, because the interventions, not the sculptures, but the interventions are the ones where you communicate with people. And I think that's coming from Brazil, actually, because in Brazil, growing up in Brazil, people are always out. You know, it's always about people and outside parks and this. And I feel that having experienced that growing up, I really enjoy being with people, but especially when I do my public art interventions, it's because it's this combination, you know, the artist, the art, the people, and the universe. All of this together throws me into that space of being primal in this world. The connection is unbelievably strong.
So how do we make that happen on an exponential level where we transcend differences of race, color, creed, sexual orientation? How do we do that? I mean, artists are good at this. I mean, we should be running the show. I mean, actually, when you get down to it, I feel the same way. I was born and raised here in the Bronx, and I tell people that's my core.
Yes.
I mean, I can go anywhere on the planet and I can get along with just about anybody on the planet. I don't care
Yes.
where you're from, what you do. I don't care. It doesn't matter because that's where my roots are. My roots are here in the Bronx. And that is the heart and soul of my being, is that core that I got somewhere here of being, you could throw me anywhere on the planet, and my Bronxness, if you want to give it a name, is what connects me to other people. And so when I hear you speak like this, that it reminds me of my experience of being here. This is my true education, is the streets of the Bronx, and how I was raised in my community. And I'm hearing exactly the same thing. And you're expressing it in art, and you've been able to travel and be with different people of like everybody. You've been like everywhere. So this is very intriguing to me, what you're saying, this connection. And then that piece, the container going from Taiwan
Yes.
to Italy,
Yeah.
that's amazing to me. That's fantastic. And where did it go from there?
Oh, it returned to
So it went
to
from China?
Kaohsiung.
Wow.
Kaohsiung, well, Taiwan.
Where is it now?
Oh, now, no, it's over. Because that was in 2008.
Yes, but the container's somewhere.
Oh,
Where is the container? Let's find that container.
we are in 2025.
Right.
So,
Did you ever wonder what had happened to the container?
well, it was, it was a project put out by the Kaohsiung Museum of Fine Arts. So,
How did they find you?
it was a curator recommended that I apply, and that's how I did it, and I got in.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Tell me more about the water tower.
Oh, the water tower. Okay, so that's interesting. As a matter of fact, I had the idea because I did the cozy in Taiwan, and when I came back to New York City, I thought, I want to do something with the water towers. And I feel that we in New York City, all of us, especially there in the city, we are kind of alienated and somewhat disconnect. It's almost like, as they say, the concrete jungle. And for me, every time I looked at these wooden water tanks, I felt like really warm, and I felt like I was in the countryside. It made me feel that way. And so it took a long time for this to come to fruition. A water tank company, a CEO was interested, but because of New York City bureaucracy, it was very hard to take this off the ground. Finally, the American Red Cross agreed to it. 15 years. It took 15 years.
What is the complication? Is it that those are on private properties, are they not? Or are water towers leased to the building or something?
Well, it's the legal stuff. The the dangers that's involved, you know, because the water towers are way up there. And then it's, and the owners of the buildings, they don't want to take the risk, you know, if something happens.
How many did you do?
Oh, I did one.
And is it still
But
there?
I still, yeah, it's still there.
Where is it?
Exactly. American Red Cross, which is Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
It's in
And,
Hell.
and so when you're going down the West Side Highway, or can you see it still, or?
You have to be on 10th Avenue.
Okay.
It's the corner of 49 and
I'm going to have to look
48.
up more.
Yeah, it's at the corner. And 10th Avenue.
And in closing, what are you doing now? Do you have any shows coming up? How can we find you?
Actually, I just got a call from Rio de Janeiro because I have a gallery in Rio and in Italy. And they just called me. They didn't give me the details, but they're doing a big project there, which is almost relevant to Inhotim. I don't know if you know of Inhotim.
No, I don't.
Inhotim is fantastic. It's way up north, Belo Horizonte. And there they have a huge land, and all the big name artists, the big name artists, they have sculptures there. And it's huge, acres after acres after acres. So what they told me is that they want to do something similar in Rio, outside of Rio. And she wants to involve her artists. So I am waiting to hear details about it.
Well, that's very exciting. And will
I'm
it be a new
excited.
body of work?
What's that?
Will it be a new body of work?
I don't know what it's going to entail, actually. It has to be something new, yes. But I don't know if it's going to be sculpture or, you know, I don't have the details.
And to
But
find
I know it's
you,
going to happen.
And to find you, do you have social media handles that
Oh,
we
yeah.
can find you? What are they?
My name,
So it's,
Carmen Einfinger.
and you can
Yeah.
find you on Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, and I also have a website.
And what is your website address?
It's my name.
Okay, that's
I keep it all simple.
That's really easy. That's really easy. And your name is on the screen, so people will be able to find you. And I hope they do. And I hope
Thank you.
that someone discovers the Gaza painting, My Guernica.
Yes.
It's when Jinx. What is the tagline?
The more things change, the more they stay the
Isn't
same.
that the truth?
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming up to the Bronx from Manhattan. That was a big deal, and I hope that someone sees this and calls you and says we want to show that particular painting, because it does touch me in a way that not that much art gets to me, but that painting certainly does, and a lot of your art does, because it has a very unique line, very unique composition. Anyway, I'd like to thank you. I'm Daniel Lanzilotta, the host of Corinne's Picks, and we'll see you again.